This is Andrew Pidor and welcome to my channel.
On today's video we are going to look at some of the most beautiful tiaras worn by the royal families of the Northern Europe royal courts. A tiara is a Latin word that means a jeweled head ornament. The word appears in both ancient Greek and Latin to describe the crown worn by both noble men and women. Today, tiaras are mostly worn by women and are associated with beauty pageants. In the late 18th century, the tiara came into fashion in Europe as a prestigious piece of jewelry to be worn by women on formal occasions. Tiaras were extremely popular during the late 19th century and were worn at events where the dress code was a white tie. After World War I, wearing a tiara gradually fell out of fashion, except for official occasions at a royal court. Currently, the interest in wearing tiaras has increased again since the beginning of the 21st century. And the word tiara is often used interchangeably with the word diadem. And throughout the 20th century, the wearing of tiaras has fluctuated in line with changes in prosperity and fashion. In the past 20 years, there has been a renewed appreciation for this type of jewel, fueled by various high-profile exhibitions and celebrity weddings. We're dipping into the Swedish royal vaults for a little sparkle on this day, with a look at a tiara that has proven to be unexpectedly versatile, and at number 10 on our list, the Palmetto tiara of Princess Sofia. We first saw the tiara in public in June 2015, when Sofia Hellqvist married Prince Carl Philip of Sweden. The tiara was a wedding gift to Sofia from her new parents-in-law, King Carl XVI Gustaf and Queen Silvia of Sweden. The tiara features petite diamond palmettes set on a slender diamond-studded base and interspersed with diamond spikes. Originally, Sofia wore the tiara with a set of emerald toppers. Press reports added that Queen Silvia had the necklace sent back to Thailand to be remade as a tiara, partly to keep it a secret surprise ahead of the wedding day. In late November 2017, Princess Sofia surprised us all by debuting a completely new arrangement for the tiara. At a gala dinner that month, she wore the tiara with a new set of pearl toppers. In December 2019, she debuted yet another new setting of the tiara, this time featuring turquoise toppers. It's lovely to see a tiara that can be worn in multiple ways, especially for a princess who is part of a junior branch of the royal family. The Swedish royal family's royal jewelry treasures largely reside in the family's jewel foundation, which cleverly ensures that the collection remains intact as it travels through time. But some of their tiaras, including today's sparkling diamond fringe, are personal possessions. The diamond tiara first appeared on Queen Silvia in the late 1980s. Thanks to the timing, she and King Carl XVI Gustaf celebrated their 10th wedding anniversary in 1986. Many have speculated that the tiara may have been an anniversary present from the king to his queen consort. Regardless of the occasion, the court has always maintained that this is a private tiara personally owned rather than part of the Grand Royal Jewel Foundation. We sadly don't have any clear information about where or when the tiara was made. The internet christened it the modern fringe tiara, both because it was a newer addition to the Bernadotte family tiara arsenal. The innovative tiara, though, may be far older than the modern label would make it seem. Posters at the Royal Jewels of the World message board unearthed a photo of a very similar tiara, worn by Lady Tankerville at the coronation of King Edward VII in 1902. The existence of the image raises a pair of, equally likely, but both speculative, possibilities. Either the Tankerville tiara is the same one now worn by the Swedish royals, or more than one of this type of tiara was made around the turn of the last century. The unique gold, pearl, and cameo tiara from the Swedish royal vaults is packed with history and symbolism, from its initial creation story in Napoleonic France to the tales told by the individual cameos in the piece. The cameo parure, now owned by the Bernadottes of Sweden, was originally given by Napoleon I to Empress Josephine in 1809. The set includes a tiara, a necklace, a bracelet, and a pair of earrings. The tiara made its way from Imperial France to Royal Sweden by a slightly circuitous route. It was inherited by Josephine's son, Eugene de Beauharnais, and then passed on to his daughter, Queen Josefina of Sweden and Norway. She bequeathed the cameos to her daughter, Princess Eugenie, and it has remained with the Bernadottes in Stockholm ever since. The tiara is an example of an early 19th century jewel that manages to be impressive without a single diamond. Seed pearls set in red gold form anthemian designs, encircle the cameos and dot the base. Today's tiara is one of the sparkliest, but most divisive, diadems in the Swedish royal vaults. Even though many find the sparkler not quite to their taste, the history behind the 6-button tiara makes it an incredible Bernadotte heirloom. Buttons that make up this tiara are more properly called diamond rosettes. They have an untouchable provenance. This tiara was made using diamond buttons that belonged to Queen Louisa Ulrika of Sweden. They were attached to the crown worn by King Carl XIV Johan, who was born Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte at his coronation in 1818. He was the first king of the Bernadotte dynasty, and his legacy remains central to the family today. Although the diamond rosettes have a 200-year history in the family, the 6-button tiara is a relatively new creation. It was assembled around the time that Princess Lilian married Prince Bertel, and it was apparently intended initially for her use. Lilian wore the tiara during her lifetime, but it's also been worn by other members of the family, including Queen Sylvia. The family that currently sits on the Swedish throne has genealogical ties to Swedish kings from centuries ago, but they're more immediately descended from French nobility. Because of this, the family's jewel coffers are full of trinkets with connections to the French imperial court of Napoleon Bonaparte. Today's tiara, the sparkler from the family's amethyst parure, is just such a piece. The tiara actually didn't start out as a tiara at all. In fact, it's only been a tiara for a few decades. Instead, the piece was originally a necklace made of diamonds surrounding 15 large amethysts. The original owner of the jewels is said to have been Josephine de Beauharnais, the first wife of Napoleon Bonaparte. But it wasn't until after Sylvia Somerleth married King Carl XVI Gustaf in 1976 that the parure was transformed to its current state. Delicate, antique, and sentimental, the diamond drop tiara of the Swedish royal family has to be one of the most lovely tiaras in a royal collection today. The tiara came to Sweden in 1905 with the country's new princess, Margaret of Connaught, and has been worn by women in each generation since. Princess Margaret didn't wear a tiara at her wedding, but the Connaught tiara has adorned the heads of other Bernadotte brides and princesses. Princess Christina wore the tiara in 1974 when she married Tord Magnusson. Although many Bernadotte brides wear the family's cameo tiara, Princess Christina almost certainly wore the Connaught as a tribute to her mother, Princess Sibylla. Today, the tiara is owned by King Carl XVI Gustaf, who inherited it from Princess Sibylla. It is apparently a personally owned piece, not a part of the family's jewel foundation. When it comes to tiaras set with dazzling diamonds, still photographs often don't do the jewels justice. Today, we've got a look at one of the Swedish royal family's sparkliest diamond diadems, the Baden fringe tiara, in glorious motion. One of the sparkliest fringe tiaras in the business, the Baden fringe tiara has actually been historically associated with two royal Swedish Victorias. The first was Princess Victoria of Baden, who received the tiara from her parents, Grand Duke Friedrich I and Grand Duchess Louise of Baden, when she married the future King Gustav V of Sweden in 1881. She became Queen Victoria of Sweden in 1907. The lovely piece is made up of diamond sunray motifs, which is why it is sometimes called the sunray tiara, mounted on a frame. When it is detached from that frame, it can also be worn as a necklace. Since the time of Queen Victoria, the tiara has never left the Swedish royal family. Victoria made sure that it wouldn't by bequeathing the piece to the family foundation of the Bernadottes. If you're on the lookout today for jewels that belong to members of the imperial family of France, you'd best look not only in the Louvre but also in the family foundation of the Bernadottes, the royal family of Sweden. Like many of the grandest pieces, the gorgeous sapphires in their collection started out in 19th century France. The para's first owner was Princess Augusta of Bavaria, the wife of Eugene de Beauharnais, the only son of Empress Josephine of France. Augusta received the sapphires as a wedding present in 1806. The parure includes a number of impressive sapphire and diamond pieces, including the tiara, a necklace, a pair of earrings, a brooch, and a set of hair ornaments. The tiara features diamond floral motifs topped by 11 sapphires. We've talked about the inflexibility of some tiaras, but this one is the polar opposite. The base is so flexible that the tiara lays completely flat when stored, making it both easy to transport and easy to wear. The sapphires on the tiara can also be removed, and some believe that they were at one time able to be interchanged for a set of large pear-shaped pearls. The Leuchtenbergs had several children, many of whom made successful dynastic marriages. One of their daughters, Amélie, became Empress of Brazil, and inherited her mother's diamonds and emeralds. The eldest, Josephine, married the future King Oscar I of Sweden, eventually becoming Queen Josefina of Sweden. She's the one who inherited her mother's sapphires, and they've resided in the Swedish royal vaults ever since. Second on our list is the Aquamarine kokoshnik tiara of Sweden. The tiara has a long and unique history and a British origin. It's said that this tiara originally belonged to Margaretha's grandmother, Margaret of Connaught, who was the first wife of King Gustav VI Adolf of Sweden. When Princess Margaret married Crown Prince Gustav Adolf of Sweden in June 1905, they were married at Windsor Castle, and then travelled to Sweden after their honeymoon. She brought with her the Aquamarine kokoshnik tiara and a matching brooch. The maker of the tiara is unknown, although I see similarities in the diadem to pieces made by Koch, a German court jeweler. Both the tiara and the brooch feature absolutely enormous aquamarines. The tiara places delicate lattice-like diamond elements in between the large blue stones to form the traditional kokoshnik shape. In 2020, art historian Göran Alm called this tiara the most important piece of jewelry in the Swedish royal vault. The enormous diamond floral tiara now resides in Stockholm. But it came to the Bernadottes via royal relatives in Brazil. Emperor Pidor I gave the jewel to his second wife, Princess Amélie of Leuchtenberg. The tiara takes its name from the House of Braganza, the dynasty that reigned in Portugal and Brazil. When she died, Amélie bequeathed the tiara to her sister, Queen Josefina of Sweden. It's been part of the Swedish royal collection ever since.